Hi everyone, so we're going to be talking about who versus whom today. So what's the difference? How do they function in a sentence? Do they even have different functions, or is one of them just a fancier version that we use when we want to sound smart? Let's figure it out together. What exactly do they do? Who acts as a subject in a sentence? So, for instance, we say, who did it? Who is the subject of the verb did. Whom, on the other hand, acts as the object of a verb or the object of a preposition. Example, the letter is for whom. Whom is the object of the preposition for. We'll go over this a little more in depth in the next slides. How do I know if it's a subject or an object? Well, subjects are a person or thing that performs a verb. So, Tina picked up the microphone. We see that Tina performs the action of picking up, so it makes her the subject of the verb. The director wants to know who picked up the microphone. Picked up is a verb that needs a subject, and so to fill that subject in, we use who. Who does not need to be the subject of the whole sentence, it just needs to be the subject of a verb. So you can see in the second sentence that the director and who are both subjects. They both have their own verbs. It's less about who's the subject of the whole sentence and whether or not who acts as the subject of the verb that you're looking at. So as long as who has a verb it's attached to, you should be okay. Now objects are the ones that are affected by the verb. Whom also replaces objects of preposition. So in this sentence, the dog licked Jordan. So Jordan isn't doing anything in this sentence. He is being licked by the dog. So he's the object. The dog is the subject. So we have the dog, which is our subject, S, performing the verb licked, which is V, and Jordan, who is our object, O. So you can see that the structure is subject, verb, object, SVO. That's kind of how simple sentences work in English. The dog's owner met the person whom the dog licked. So we use whom here because the dog licked someone, and in order to replace that ambiguous someone, we use whom. Whom would be the object of the verb licked. In this sentence, I didn't know whom she was sitting next to. And we get a preposition. Next to makes it easier for us to say, oh, maybe we should use whom here because it's probably going to be an object. If next to is a preposition, then yes, the object would be our who or whom, but in this case we can only use whom as an object, so it's just whom. It's kind of like if you were to ask, she was sitting next to whom, if you were to change it into a question. Which brings me to the next point. How do I know the subject or object of a question if all we have is the question? Well, a common way is to change the structure by just simply answering it. So if our question here is, who danced at the party last night? An answer to this question might look like, she danced at the party last night. She is a pronoun in the subjective case, meaning it is a subject. She performs the verb danced. Our next question here, whom was everybody looking at the whole time? If we were to answer it, everybody was looking at her the whole time. Her is a pronoun in the objective case, which you might have guessed means it's an object. We wouldn't necessarily say, her danced at the party last night, or everybody was looking at she the whole time. We could say it, and people might understand what we mean, but in terms of prescriptive grammar rules, that would be incorrect. What about whoever and whomever? Well, they work the same way as who and whom. They just tack on that little ever to show that it doesn't really matter which person it was. Could have been anybody. So whoever knocked on the door that morning must have been really impatient. We see that whoever is acting as our subject because our verb over here would be knocked. And if we were to replace whoever with a pronoun, it would be one in the subjective case, such as, he knocked on the door. He, she, they, all subjective case pronouns. At the time, Kyle would meet with whomever was recommended. We see right here, there's a preposition. And even then, in the context of this sentence, you know that Kyle needs to meet somebody in order for the sentence to make more sense. So, we need an object regardless. We're going to use whomever. If we were to replace it with pronouns, it would be something like, Kyle would meet with her. Anything in the objective case. Okay, practice time. No worries, we're just going to go over these one by one, step by step. Nice and easy. Number 1. Maggie knew without a doubt blank took the cookies from the jar. Now we already know that took is a verb, but it's missing a subject in this sentence. And the only option we have here that can work as a subject is the word who. Maggie knew without a doubt who took the cookies from the jar. Number 2. Blank did Rowan talk with on the phone yesterday? Well, we see here that we have with. And with is a preposition, meaning that we're probably going to be replacing this blank with an object, because Rowan talked with someone on the phone yesterday. So we would use whom in order to act as that object. Whom did Rowan talk with on the phone yesterday? And remember, you can always try to answer the question and see which pronoun you come up with. Rowan talked with her on the phone yesterday. Rowan talked with him, talked with them on the phone yesterday. Number 3. Is the manager willing to give blank a job now as long as they're old enough to work? So, no preposition, but does this verb need to have an object? The manager is going to give someone a job. So we're missing an object here. And again, we can try to replace it with a pronoun. Is the manager willing to give she a job now? Is the manager willing to give her a job now? Her makes more sense here. Objective case, we need an object. Whomever. And that's the end of this lesson. Alright, but we do have homework. On this slide right here, I want you guys to take a pause, write down all 5 of these sentences, and fill them in with either who, whom, whoever, or whomever. And if you're completely stuck and you don't know which word you can use to fill in those blanks, make sure you take note of why the sentence is confusing you, what you can't figure out, anything that you can bring to class tomorrow and have us discuss together as a group, because we will be going over the answers as a group tomorrow in class. Be prepared to turn this in. I will be collecting it. But for now, good luck, and I'll see you tomorrow.